Next on the line, we have uh Near, I believe. You have also a series that I think, yeah, this one I was personally excited a little bit about, but I know again, I left it for you to cover. So,
Yeah. I watched. Oh boy.
do you want me
Um,
to try reading it here?
Katsute Mahou Shoujo to Aku wa Tekitai Shiteita, also known
Yes,
as MahoAku, or the magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be arch enemies.
yes,
Um, this is the Bones series of the season,
yeah.
which is an interesting pick for Bones. They usually do, action shit. I think they're still in the fucking My Hero Academia mines for
I'm very interested to see how they'll climb
probably
out of
another
that.
few seasons. Yeah, maybe they'll pull a fucking Attack on
But
Titan
it's
where
like,
they'll
it's
have
kind of whatever. Bye. See ya.
My
Especially
Hero
since after the
Academia,
ending.
the final
Yeah.
season,
Yeah.
the last chapter, part two.
The problem is the ending, right? Because everybody's already so pissed off at the ending. And I
I
feel like they'll
mean,
just be like,
you say that
sorry
like
guys, we're out.
you say that like the people weren't like, yeah, the problem with Attack on Titan is the ending as well, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
people
that's true.
hated that ending. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're in it for the long haul, right?
Yeah, I
They're
mean, my pet theory has always been for these sorts of series. The problem, I mean, the ending is one thing, but the problem was always the pacing and not the ending,
yeah,
right?
of
It's
course.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But
also, can I, if I can mention just something else real quick, or just on the actual, on the topic of MahoAku itself. MahoAku is originally made by, it's a manga original made by, I believe, who was the author here? It was,
Fujiwara Koko.
yeah, Fujiwara Koko, who did Inuboko Secret Service, Inuboko
Yeah.
Secret Service as another manga, and this is a similar kind of like shoujo-ish series, but the author unfortunately did pass away before finishing MahoAku itself. So, um, this was kind of, again, this is like it's almost in like a um, it's in a similar situation to Zero no Tsukaima, right, where the author passed away early and the story was kind of never really none of the manuscripts were really written out like it was
Yeah.
with, say, Berserk. Yeah. So,
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's only 3 volumes of the manga here. Um,
mhm.
so there's not like a lot of material, which
They're
leads
gonna go Akame get
into
kill. They're gonna go Akame get kill
yeah.
style,
Well, it
just
leads
like change it. Yeah.
into the main thing is that this is a 12-minute short. Um,
Uh,
which I didn't expect. I thought it was gonna be a full, but um, yeah. So essentially, this series is a romance-focused comedy series that's pretty episodic. Um, and the basic premise is the main character, Shun Miller, is like the basically the evil lieutenant, general. He's the big bad. And
yeah, yeah.
his whole thing is that like he's the he's the cold, calculating, emotionless strategist of the evil corporation, right? Who's
Is he sort of, can I ask something? Like at the beginning of the story, right? Is he is he cold calculating and like sort of like a tightwad kind of like, oh, like I just gotta get everything perfection. Is he kind of like doing that? Or is he sort of
so
depicted more as like a lanky kind of relaxed, like, oh yeah, I'm just a fucking genius kind of vibes?
Yeah, so the beginning of the story is literally when they first meet. So
Okay.
there isn't really any like
Oh, okay,
there
okay,
isn't
okay.
any really like pre-established like character of who he is before, but
Mhm,
they basically just say like, yeah, his reputation is that like he's cold, he's calculating, and like whenever
mhm.
he's on a mission, he has like no emotions, right?
Okay, okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
but pretty much the opening shot of this series is them meeting, right? And he sees her, and his glasses fucking explode, and there's fireworks going off, and there's like a Ferris wheel in the background that lights up as a big heart. Um, and then there's like this sort of storybook like overlay that's like it was love at first sight, right? Um, so
All right.
he falls in love with her, right? And her as a magical girl, um, the uh the female lead, Mimori, um, she kind of doesn't really want to be a magical girl that much. Like she's not really like this series isn't really about the magical girl stuff that much. It's sort of just an initial like setup for the gag basically of like them the fact that they shouldn't be, hanging out together and stuff.
Yeah,
Um
and also this also has like a lot of like almost throwaway references to certain other magical girl series, which I'll ask later. But yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um so she doesn't really care that much about being a magical girl, and pretty
Yep.
much all of her time is spent doing part-time jobs to make ends meet because she's poor as fuck. Um and so that combined with, her cute, looks and her behavior, he falls for her even harder, and he basically vows to, support her, right? Um, the issue is he has to, sort of keep up appearances with the evil, uh, corporation, world domination, faction, and, he sort of has to live this sort of tightrope life where he's buying gifts for the magical girl, all the while trying to report that it's all part of the mission, to take her down, right? Um, and it's again, it's mainly comedy focused. It's super, super, super like sappy, cheesy, like romance. Um, there's not really like a lot of story. It is pretty much all like pretty much the first few episodes is like you know, him being like, how do I why do I feel this way about her? And I should be taking her down. And then like immediately after he buys her like a thing of cheesecake, and then they go on like a dinner date, right? Um, and then they do
Okay.
sort of sappy gags where she acts cute, and then he like, freaks out and his glasses break, or he starts punching a tree or something because like
Hmm.
it's like moe overload, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's that type of
And a lot,
humor.
and most of the series is that sort of like back and forth, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Because I
Um,
was it was very similar in Inubuku, except obviously in the latter half of the series, not even latter half. It's like I want to say latter one third, the last one third to last one fourth to last one fifth of the series. There was a sudden, oh, by the way, we need to do an actual overarching story kind of thing, and that might be similar to what happens here. But for right now, it's pretty much just the kind of cutesy kind of
yeah,
back and forth, right?
I
Yeah.
have a feeling it's probably going to be somewhat similar because um, I don't think she's shown up yet, but there is supposed to be like a rival magical girl. Um,
Uh,
and I don't know if
but
that's
even the
gonna.
rival magical girl it might end up being a
Yeah,
comedy
it's
shtick, or
probably going to
yeah,
be mostly another comedy gag, but I'm assuming
yeah.
that aspect is probably going to move some aspect of the plot forward, right?
Right, right,
Um,
right.
but yeah,
Can I
besides,
also ask? Can I also ask real quick?
yeah.
Um, I was looking through some of those characters. Can you tell me how many how many Megacure references this bad boy is holding in right now?
So there's a lot. So they do. So obviously, pretty much I feel like any like modern magical girl series that has like a comedy aspects to it, like at all,
Uh-huh.
is going to throw a good handful of Maguka references, right?
Yeah, if they are
Um,
referencing something, yeah.
yeah, and this one takes the form of essentially parodying Cube, right? Um, where
Yeah.
Mimori's sort of familiar is this white cat thing,
Mhm.
who's voiced by Shinichiro Miki, who I think most famously is the voice of fuck, what's his name? The hat dude, Kisuke from
Mhm.
Bleach, and James from Pokemon.
Yeah, he
Um,
does a lot of like kind of like lanky, kind of thin, like kind of
yeah,
dry male roles. Yeah.
and he does this sort of sleazy, Yakuza voice, right? And like
Yeah.
basically they paint this like cat dude as an absolute fucking scumbag, right? He's
Yeah, yeah,
basically
yeah.
ruining Mimori's life. He's siphoning like all of the cash she makes to, fund his own like smoking and alcoholism, addictions, and they basically portray him as a yakuza, right? He
Yeah.
he tries
She's
to
QB.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, he tries to like effectively whore her off to like escort services and like
Mhm.
sell etchy videos of her when she gets attacked by monsters and shit. Um, and there's a bit where Shun, like, Mimori sort of admits this to Shun, and he goes into like this fucking evil, like arch villain rage, and he literally rips um the familiar's head off and then like kills him. And the familiar's
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, I don't care, because we can't die, so I'm gonna be back later, right?
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, there's quite a few references there. Um, and then the rival, magical girl also has another familiar who looks fucking rancid. He's like this balding, like he's got like this balding, like long hair, but he's like this muscular bird creature. He looks
Uh-huh.
fucking nasty. He hasn't shown up yet though. But yeah, there's quite a few
It's
references.
interesting how it's interesting how there's all these like the magical girl character and such a Megaka, right? And QA and all these other like characters, and it's like the world is built up around this magical girl, obviously plus the evil organization, but the focus is a little bit what stands out to people, what stands out to viewers is the magical girl aspect of it, right? A little bit more
Yeah,
than the evil off, and then but yet the main character, really, the character that's doing a lot of the thinking and kind of acting and decision making and kind of wheeling and dealing is the evil organization officer main character and not the magical girl that's standing out,
yeah.
which is yeah.
There is quite a few gags with the evil organization stuff where like he'll come back and there are like these there's like the army of like faceless like villain henchmen dudes, and
Right,
the
right,
gag with them is they don't like speak. They just make this weird like almost like bird crowing sound, where they're just going like over and over again,
right.
and then it displays what they're saying as like text on the screen, and everybody kind of just like like talks to them like that's totally normal, and they're pretty funny. They're pretty they're basically like they act like maids basically around
Mhm.
the headquarters of like the evil villain um, place. But yeah, there's also like the other evil villain, like council members that are sort of breathing down his neck that are like, hey, aren't you supposed to be like defeating the magical girl? Like, what's going on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's some gags there, but yeah, I think a good amount of the humor is sort of focused on like the whole magical girl aspect and how like she doesn't really want to be a magical girl that much, and pretty much all of her time is spent working like these fucking minimum wage jobs and shit. Um,
It's interesting how there's like that world is set up, but it always feels like, especially since it's that sort of Mahou Shoujo, like raising magical girl raising project or manga or all these manga variants. The wondrous part of this Madoka variant of the magical girl trope, or the magical girl genre, excuse me, is that it always feels like it's about to fall into a deeper story, right?
yeah,
That just by having Madoka setting by itself, you're always like, is this gonna go into a deeper arc? What's happening? But
yeah,
it's not. The girl is just like, yeah, I'm just a fucking hobo, bro. Like, I
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
any money.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, a lot of the focus is just basically like it's not really plot focus. It's like just comedy and like a lot
Mhm.
of the lovey-dovey scenes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's like really sweet. Like it's you know
It's a very interesting, like, because it really messes with the anime fans' mind in a sense, right? Much more than a lot of maybe other series would, because you're always thinking again, it should be this way. It feels like it's going to do some mega clear shit, but then
yeah.
it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely
Yeah.
got those moments where it's like, is this is this about to go like somewhere that like is this about to like tone shift like super hard?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
and then and then the series is like, nope, back to romance, back to
yeah,
comedy.
yeah.
It's quite good. It's very sappy. It's very cute. It's very wholesome. The comedy is really good. It really helps that Shun is voiced by fucking Yuki Ono, who's, pretty much a
Yeah.
master at fucking doing the whole uh slapstick comedy stuff. Um
Hmm.
Mimori is voiced by Nakahara Mai, who does
Also a
these
veteran. Yeah.
yeah, she's doing this very sort of uh almost like sleepy, emotionless,
Hmm.
breathy voice. It's quite good. Um like I said, the angel is voiced by Miki Shinichiro. A few of the other characters are quite good. Formal Halt, who's like this weird, almost like fanboy of Shun, is voiced by Kenichi Suzumura. One of the other council members is voiced by Ayako Kawasumi. You have Shimonohiro there. Um, Toyama Nao. There's a lot of big names on this, and they all do
Yeah.
a very good job.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, they all kind of like fit the casting quite well too. Yeah, it's just
yeah.
like, yeah, keeping that
Um,
tension up.
and yeah, the fact that it's a short as well, it's 12 minutes per episode. It keeps the
Oh, okay, it is a
yeah
short. Okay,
yeah it keeps the comedic pacing really brisk. Um, and I think it helps overall. Again, I
it also
feel
gives
like
them an
it
out. It also gives them an out because if it's like a
yeah
short,
I feel
they
like
don't
it
have to put
being
as
a
much
short,
emphasis.
yeah,
Yeah,
they don't have to worry too much about the ending. And
yeah,
they
yeah.
also don't have to worry as much
Mm,
about
okay,
running out of material, right? Because
okay, okay,
again,
okay. Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah,
only there's only 3 volumes of the manga, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So, yeah, it's very self-contained. It's very sweet. It's
Mm,
really just an overall really like wholesome, sweet package. And
mm.
again, it's Bones, so the audio visuals are really good. Um,
Pretty good, pretty
they
good.
do they do the magical girl transformation in the first
Oh
like
shit.
3 episodes, and it's really
Uh-huh.
good. There's a lot of
Fuck yeah, that
yeah,
that's
there's a
like
lot of
that's one of the
like
core points. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of like flowing flowers and there's sparkles flying everywhere and the the clothes like, materializing onto her body. It's done really well. And then when it's done, like when the transformation sequence is over, she like falls out of the sky, like out of like a big star of flowers that like dissolve into the air. It's very flashy. Um and there's a couple not really action scenes, but like shooting fireballs and stuff scenes, and they're all animated very well. um the color palette for this is also super super nice. It's very pastel, very bright. um it's very warm. The first episode, um there's a scene where they're doing like a sort of like a lunch date, right, where they're eating I think it's like a shortcake under like a gazebo or whatever, right?
Mm.
And it the color palette and the sort of shading used, it was really reminiscent to me of Garden of Words, if you remember that. Um,
Okay, okay,
it
I see
was
where you're
like
going
it
with.
was
Yeah.
like slightly less green Garden of Words. Um,
That's not to be fair, that's not a very high hurdle to hit. Slightly less
yeah,
green
yeah.
Gardevoir, yeah.
Garden of Words is very
Gardevoir is
green,
very
but
green. Yeah.
it really reminded me of Garden of Words, and
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, I know what you're going.
yeah, it's really nice looking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm
Overall,
surprised that Bones took this up because Inubuku was JC, right? I think. Yeah, I feel like it was JC. Um, I always whenever I forget something, I'm like, yeah, it's probably JC staff, right? But
yeah.
it was David. It was David
Damn,
production.
it was David production.
The-
Wow,
so this
different
author
era.
got one series done by David production and the other one done by Bones. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ. Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, it was a very interesting pick. I remember they announced it
Mhm.
like I think a year ago, 2 years ago, and I remember
Uh-huh.
people were like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
just like some random shoujo series. Like, what the
yeah,
fuck? Yeah,
it was definitely an
exactly.
interesting pick, but they did a good job, I
Mhm,
think.
mhm.
And yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
sweet show. I think it's definitely worth checking out. If you're a fan of romance, it's definitely worth checking out because again, it's like just like cuteness overload.
Mhm.
It's very sappy. It's very lovey-dovey. You know, they're really hammer home that like these two are like head over heels for each other basically.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and if you like comedy, it's pretty funny. I think the comedy is really snappy. Again, the
Mhm.
pacing of the fact that it's a short really helps that. Um, and yeah, overall, I think it's just a really solid package. If it's
Yeah.
you know, if this is up your alley, there's really no reason not to check it out. So
And again, I mean, this is a real one because it's like Nier usually doesn't really hard like into these sorts of series. So if he's
yeah,
appreciating this sort of stuff, yeah,
I typically avoid romance series a lot because, you know,
yeah.
I feel like these days a lot of times romance is like a lot of will they won't
Structurally, yeah,
they.
it's yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, you know, they like each other, but are they really gonna tell each other that?
And
Um,
then a second girl comes in, and you're like, God damn
yeah,
it.
and this is like this is kind of sort of like they don't obviously they're not like kissing and shit all the time. And they're not
Mm,
like, oh, I love you, but like they're pretty much like they're constantly like pining for each other. They're constantly telling each other like, you know, I can't wait to see you again. You know,
mm,
they're basically just like, yeah, I love you, right? And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really cute. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, pretty good. Guess any last words plus, I guess, your score, please.
Score. I mean, for what it is, I think it's probably a 9. I think this is a really
Wow.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a really good package just overall
Mhm.
for what it is. Yeah, definitely recommend.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Nier. I want to get a proper review out of you for this too, because again, yeah, I was, I don't know whether I would say like a super hard fan, but it's like I did like reading Iniboku as well. I guess closet guilty pleasure of mine slightly, but
Yeah.
so I was looking forward to this a little bit as well. So again, if you do like that sort of um an interesting, I guess, like draped over premise with a magical girl, but a good, I guess, overall rom com romp. That's like a short series. Please do check this out. It is again. Katsute Shoujo to Aku wa Tekitai Shiteita, also known as the magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be arch enemies, also known as MahoAku. This is Bones, adaptation of a manga original. Unfortunately, the manga is incomplete because the author did pass away, but again, the anime is probably going to be fully again based off the what is remaining of the manga. So please check it out.